Hey everybody, and welcome back to Demo Hub Pod, exploring the cutting edge of tech and AI, powered by AI. It's great to be back with you all for another deep dive, and this time we're taking a look at the state of AI in 2024. Things are changing so fast in this space, it can be hard to keep up.
It really can.
So to make sure we're all on the same page, we've got a mountain of research articles.
Yes.
And most importantly, the just released 2024 AI Index report.
Yeah, it's packed with insights, Brian.
Oh, absolutely.
Some really fascinating stuff. For example, did you know that even though AI is rapidly being integrated into all these make or break decision-making fields, like healthcare and finance, there's a huge lack of standardized reporting when it comes to responsible AI practices?
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, isn't it? Because we're essentially trusting AI systems with really important decisions.
Right.
But it seems like every company is using a different playbook when it comes to making sure that those systems are being developed responsibly.
Exactly. It's like everyone's speaking a different language.
Yeah.
The report points out that even the major players, like your OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, they're all using different benchmarks to test their models for things like bias and safety and all these critical factors. So it makes it incredibly difficult to compare them, to figure out which model might be more susceptible to certain risks.
Yeah, you can't compare apples and oranges, can you?
Exactly.
You got to be able to look at them side by side.
And that lack of clear, comparable data is a major obstacle to building trust.
Yeah.
Making sure that AI is used responsibly.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not just about figuring out if an AI is quote unquote good or bad.
Right.
It's about knowing what it's good at, what it's bad at.
Exactly.
And how that might play out in different scenarios.
Exactly.
Okay, so the report also gets into some of the specific things that companies are worried about when it comes to responsible AI. What are the big ones? What are the things that are keeping them up at night?
Well, unsurprisingly, privacy is a huge one. I think companies are becoming much more aware of the potential risks of these AI systems.
Yeah.
Collecting, storing, using massive amounts of personal data.
Yeah. It's a tough one, isn't it? Because we want the personalization that AI can provide.
Right.
But nobody wants to feel like Big Brother is watching them.
Right. Exactly. And then there's security.
Yep.
As AI systems become more complex and are more deeply integrated into essential infrastructure, the potential for attacks or for vulnerabilities just becomes a much bigger concern.
Yeah, you see the headlines all the time, don't you? AI systems being hacked.
Right.
And it's a huge risk for companies.
Exactly.
That depend on those systems.
Oh, okay.
Also, we've got privacy, security, what else?
Reliability.
Yeah.
If we're going to depend on AI to make decisions that affect our lives,
it's got to work right.
It has to be accurate. It has to be dependable. A self-driving car that randomly makes a wrong turn.
Sees you in the wrong direction. Yeah, that's not good.
Not good at all. And the report highlights that, AI is still very much a work in progress. We've made huge progress. But there's still a long way to go to make these systems truly reliable in the real world.
So we've got privacy, security, reliability. Those are all very real practical concerns. But what about the bigger picture?
Right.
What about those existential questions around AI? The idea that it could pose a threat to humanity.
Yeah.
That always seems to be lurking in the background.
The report actually touches on that debate.
Okay.
Kind of the tension between addressing those immediate tangible risks like algorithmic bias versus those more long-term
big what ifs.
Philosophical questions about AI becoming so intelligent that it surpasses us.
Yeah, that's the stuff that keeps me up at night.
Right.
Where do you think the focus should be? Should we be worried about the immediate problems or those far-off maybes?
I mean, that's a tough question.
Yeah.
And the report doesn't give a clear answer, but I think it emphasizes the need to take both seriously. If you ignore the immediate harm, there could be very real consequences today.
Yeah.
But if we ignore those long-term possibilities, we could be caught totally off guard.
Yeah, it's a balancing act, isn't it?
Exactly.
But speaking of things that could have a very real impact today, let's talk about AI and elections. That's a topic that's been generating a lot of headlines.
Yeah.
And not always good ones.
It's a hot topic, and the report definitely addresses it. One of the most striking findings is that AI-generated deepfakes are already being used in elections around the world.
Whoa, hold on. We're talking about those AI videos that can make anyone look like they're doing or saying anything.
Yes, exactly. And the technology has gotten so good.
Right.
It can be really hard to tell the difference between a deepfake and a real video.
So how do we even combat that? How do we know what to believe anymore?
Yeah, it's a huge challenge, and that's why the research into deepfake detection methods is so important. And the report obviously talks about how effective those methods are,
Okay.
and it's kind of a mixed bag. Some of them are pretty good, others not so much. It's a constant arms race.
Yeah, as the tech to make deepfakes gets better, the tech to detect them has to catch up. Do you have an example of how this is playing out in an election?
There was this project called CounterCloud that really showed how easy it is to create and spread misinformation using AI.
Right.
They created fake news articles, social media posts. They even made entire websites,
Wow.
all designed to mislead people and manipulate public opinion. It's kind of scary when you think about how vulnerable our elections are to that kind of thing.
That's a really unsettling thought, especially in a world where people are already so quick to believe whatever they see online,
Right.
regardless of whether it's true or not.
And it's not just deepfakes. The report also mentioned something about ChatGPT and political bias.
It did.
Yeah.
The report found that ChatGPT shows a slight bias towards certain political parties.
Particularly the Democrats here in the US and the Labor Party in the UK.
Okay.
So it raises concerns about AI systems subtly influencing people's political views, maybe even without them realizing it.
So we've got AI potentially creating fake news, AI potentially swaying people's political opinions. What does all this mean for the future of democracy? Like, how can we make sure that elections are fair when these tools exist that can be used to manipulate information and influence voters?
Yeah, those are really important questions. The report doesn't pretend to have the answers, but it does highlight how urgent it is to have a global discussion about how we're going to deal with all of this. How do we make sure that AI is used responsibly and ethically,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to something as important as our elections?
It's a huge challenge,
Yeah.
and one that we definitely can't afford to ignore. Okay, we've talked about AI's impact on elections, which is kind of unsettling. But what about jobs? What's going to happen to all our jobs when the robots take over?
Well, the report has a more balanced perspective on that than just robots are going to steal all our jobs. One of the most surprising findings is that AI-related job postings in the US actually went down between 2022 and 2023.
Wait, down. I thought the whole narrative was that AI was going to, like, gobble up all our jobs. What's going on there?
Well, what's interesting is that a lot of that decline seems to be coming from the companies that are leading the way in AI development.
Huh.
It suggests that those companies are getting better at using AI, they need fewer people to do highly specialized AI work, and instead they're figuring out how to integrate AI into existing jobs.
So it's not so much that AI is killing jobs, it's that the nature of work is changing.
Yeah.
And we need different skills.
Right, and this ties into another important point in the report. There's a growing need for jobs that focus on the responsible development and ethical implications of AI. It's not enough to just build these systems.
Yeah.
We need people who understand the broader impact on society, who can think about those ethical challenges, and who can make sure that AI is used for good.
So it's less about the robot apocalypse and more about a shift in the skills that are needed. That's kind of reassuring. But it still means that people have to adapt, right?
Definitely. The report suggests that people working in tech need to think beyond just the coding and algorithms and really learn about things like AI, ethics, and governance, and the big picture societal impact.
So those are our listeners,
Yeah.
people who are in those jobs. So folks, start thinking about those things. It's not just about the tech anymore. It's about the bigger picture. AI is a force that's going to change the world as we know it. It did. It showed this really interesting contrast. Overall, private investment in AI actually went down a little bit last year, but funding for generative AI just exploded.
Yeah, it's like a gold rush right now.
Yeah.
When it comes to generative AI, you've got systems like ChatGPT that can create human quality text, or those AI art generators that are making these incredibly realistic images. Investors are definitely excited. Funding in that area shot up to $25.2 billion.
Wow, $25.2 billion. It seems like generative AI has really captured everyone's imagination.
Yeah.
Why do you think there's been such a surge in investment?
I think it comes down to the potential, like what this technology can actually do. We're talking about AI systems that can create content, they can write code, compose music, design products. The The possibilities seem almost endless, and for businesses, that means increased efficiency, lower costs, and maybe even whole new products and services.
So it's not just hype. There's real substance behind this investment wave.
Definitely.
The applications for generative AI are so diverse.
Yeah.
That's what's drawing so much attention. Imagine a world where marketing materials are written by AI, websites are designed by AI, the music for video games is composed by AI. It's a completely different way of thinking about creativity and productivity.
It is.
It sounds like we're on the verge of a major creative revolution. But who are the big players in all of this? Who's getting all this investment money? Any familiar names?
Some of the companies leading the charge are OpenAI, they created ChatGPT. You've got Anthropic, Hugging Face, and Inflection. These are the companies that are pushing the limits of generative AI.
So it's those big tech companies again. Is all the AI innovation happening in Silicon Valley?
Well, not entirely. While those companies are definitely making waves, the report also points out some interesting geographic trends when it comes to AI investment. For example, the U.S. is still the dominant force, investing a massive $67.2 billion in AI.
Wow. That's a lot more than anyone else.
Yeah, it dwarfs everyone else.
That's not too surprising, though, is it? I mean, the U.S. has always been a leader in tech innovation.
That's true, but what's interesting is that while investment in China and the European Union actually went down in the past year, investment in the U.S. went up. It seems like the U.S. is still the main hub for AI development and investment.
So for people who want to be at the forefront of AI innovation, the U.S. is still the place to be. But what about the rest of us, those of us who aren't, AI experts? How is all this affecting businesses right now?
Well, the report suggests that AI is having a real impact on businesses. And it's not just hype. A McKinsey survey found that 42% of organizations said their costs went down after they started using AI, and 59% said their revenue went up.
Those are some pretty impressive numbers.
Yeah.
It sounds like AI is moving beyond just experiments and delivering real value for businesses. But is that just a few companies, or is it becoming more common?
It's definitely becoming more mainstream. That same McKinsey report found that 55% of organizations are now using AI in at least one area of their business. That's up from just 20% in 2017.
So we're seeing a definite trend towards more companies using AI. But what are the most common ways they're using it to improve their operations?
Automating things is a big one. Companies are using AI to do tasks that people used to do by hand, which frees up their employees to focus on more strategic and creative work. And with the rise of generative AI, we're also seeing companies use AI to create content, analyze data, and even develop brand new products and services.
It sounds like AI is really changing the game for businesses. But with all this talk about efficiency and productivity, what about the workers? Are these gains in efficiency coming at the cost of human jobs?
That's a question we can't ignore, and the report talks about that tension. AI can help optimize business operations, but it also could impact the workforce.
Yeah.
While some jobs might be lost due to automation, AI is also creating new jobs and changing what existing jobs look like.
So it's not a simple equation of robots taking over human jobs.
No, not at all.
It's a much more complex situation.
It is. The key will be for people and organizations to adapt to these changes and learn the skills they need to do well in a future where AI is part of the workplace.
Okay, we've talked about responsible AI, the impact on elections, the changing job landscape, and the huge investment in generative AI.
Yeah.
But let's take a little detour and talk about something that's been on my mind, AI and the arts.
Ah, yes. AI's creative side.
Yeah.
It's definitely a hot topic.
It is.
There's a lot of interest and some controversy, too. We're seeing AI being used to create art, compose music, write poetry, even generate whole scripts.
Seriously, AI is writing poetry now. Is there anything it can't do?
Well, let's not get carried away. AI is still a tool, and its creative output really depends on the data it's trained on and what the humans using it want it to do. But what's fascinating is how AI is changing the creative process itself. It's becoming a partner, a source of inspiration, a new medium for artistic expression.
Do you have any examples of how artists are using AI to make new and exciting forms of art?
Definitely. Generative adversarial networks, or GANs, they're being used to create amazing AI-generated art.
Wow.
These networks learn from tons of images, and then they can create new art that often looks like it was made by a human. We're also seeing AI helping with music composition, where it helps musicians create melodies, harmonies, and even whole pieces of music.
That's pretty mind-blowing. But it also raises some really interesting questions, doesn't it?
It does.
Like, can AI really be creative?
Yeah.
And who owns the copyright to AI-generated art?
Hmm.
If a machine creates a painting, Who gets the credit? The machine or the person who programmed it?
Those are questions that are at the heart of the debate about AI and art. Some people believe that AI is just a copycat, a tool that mimics human creativity,
Wow.
but doesn't have real originality.
Wow.
Others say that AI could be genuinely creative, that it could come up with new ideas and ways of expressing them that humans could never think of.
Yeah.
And when it comes to copyright, well, that's a whole other can of worms
Yeah.
that's still being sorted out.
So lots of questions and not many easy answers. But that's what makes it so exciting to watch. We're seeing something truly groundbreaking here.
We are.
AI is pushing the boundaries of what's possible, not just in technology, but in art, music, and even how we understand ourselves. And speaking of pushing boundaries, I'm curious about the tools and platforms that are making all this AI magic happen. It's not just about the theory and research, it's about real people using these tools to create amazing things. What are some of the platforms that you've been impressed with?
When it comes to AI art, there's this platform called Open Processing that I find really interesting.
Okay.
It's a place where artists can try out different AI tools and techniques. They can share their work and connect with other people who are into AI art.
I love that idea. It's like a community of people exploring the limits of AI art together. But open processing is just one example.
What about for those of us who aren't artists but want to play around with AI creativity?
Oh, there are so many options.
Yeah.
If you're interested in writing, Novel AI is a platform specifically for writing fiction. It uses AI to help writers do all sorts of things, like coming up with ideas, writing dialogue, even writing whole chapters. Wait, AI can write whole chapters now. Things are moving fast.
It really is impressive how quickly the technology is advancing.
Yeah.
And for people who want to use AI for more general writing tasks, there are tools like Reflect Notes, which can transcribe audio, pull out the main points from a text, even create outlines and drafts for articles. It's really changing how we write.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
And it seems like new AI tools are popping up every day. But what about for visual people? Are there tools that can help us create amazing AI-generated images without needing a computer science degree?
Absolutely. Midjourney is a really popular platform for creating AI art. It's known for generating very detailed and imaginative images just from descriptions that you type in, and it's super easy to use.
Hold on. So you're saying I can just describe what I want and Midjourney will create an image for me.
Wow.
That sounds almost too good to be true.
It's pretty incredible,
Yeah.
and it's always improving. They're adding new features all the time.
Okay. I'm definitely going to have to check out Midjourney. But before we get totally sidetracked by all these shiny new tools, let's step back and look at the bigger picture for a moment. We've covered a lot of ground today, from responsible AI to how it's affecting jobs and elections, to even how it's changing the art world. But what does it all mean? What's the main takeaway for our listeners, for those tech professionals who are trying to navigate this constantly changing landscape?
If we connect it all back to the big picture, I think the main takeaway is that AI isn't something in the distant future anymore. It's here, it's happening now, and it's having a real impact on all of us. Whether you're a developer, a business leader, or just someone interested in the future of technology, understanding AI is no longer a nice to have, it's essential.
I totally agree. We can't pretend AI isn't going to change the world. So how can we, as tech professionals, prepare for this AI-powered future?
I think it starts with learning. The more you know about AI, what it can do, what it can't do, and how it might affect things, the better prepared you'll be to deal with these rapid changes. And it's not just about the technical stuff. It's equally important to understand the ethical implications, the impact on society, and the bigger philosophical questions around AI.
So hit the books, folks.
Right, man.
But what else? Learning is great, but we can't all go back to school and get a PhD in AI.
Yeah.
What are some practical steps we can take to get ready for this brave new world?
Experiment.
Okay.
There are so many amazing AI platforms and tools available now. Many of them are free or really affordable. Dive in, play around with them, get a feel for what AI can do.
Uh-huh.
That hands-on experience will be invaluable as you start thinking about how to incorporate AI into your work, your business, and even your life.
Great advice.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's also important to remember that AI is a tool. It's not going to magically fix all our problems or take over the world overnight.
Mm-hmm.
It's our responsibility as tech professionals to guide its development and make sure it's used ethically and for good.
Absolutely. AI is powerful, it has incredible potential, but it needs to be handled carefully. The decisions we make today about how we develop and use AI will have a huge impact on the future of our society.
It really is a lot to think about. And one of the things that comes up again and again in the AI Index report is that AI isn't just a problem for the tech industry. It's something that's going to affect all of us in every part of our lives. How we work, how we vote, even how we express ourselves creatively.
It is, and that's why this whole idea of responsible AI is so important. We need to be having these conversations now about how we want AI to be developed, how it's used, and how it's governed. It's about making sure these technologies are used to help humanity, not hurt it.
So it's not just about building cool new tech. It's about really thinking about the consequences, both the ones we want and the ones we don't.
Right.
And that means looking beyond just the technical side of things, doesn't it?
Exactly. We need ethicists, sociologists, policymakers, artists, people from all walks of life to be part of the conversation. It's about making sure that AI is aligned with our values and that we're not just blindly rushing into a future without thinking about the consequences.
It's almost like AI is forcing us to ask some really fundamental questions about what it means to be human, about what we value as a society.
I think you're right. And it's not just about these big philosophical questions. It's about the everyday choices we make as individuals, as consumers, as citizens. It's about understanding how AI is already shaping our lives and making informed decisions about how we want to interact with these technologies.
So it's not enough to just wait for the government to figure it all out. We need to take responsibility for educating ourselves about AI and making smart choices.
Exactly. And I think that's where a report like the AI Index can be really helpful. It gives us a snapshot of where things are, highlights the key trends and challenges, and hopefully gets people talking about these things, which is so important as we navigate this new landscape.
It's a good reminder that we're all in this together, and the decisions we make today will have a big impact down the road. So for our listeners out there, what are your thoughts? Are you optimistic about the future of AI? Are you worried? Are you feeling a bit of both?
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. What are you doing to prepare for this AI-powered future? What are the biggest opportunities you see? What about the biggest challenges?
Share your thoughts in the comments or join the conversation on our social media channels. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of AI, don't forget to like, subscribe, and come back for more. We're here to help you stay ahead of the curve and make sense of this rapidly changing world of AI. Thanks for listening.